3. Hello, guys. Gonna get YouTube to catch up for a second. Oop, what am I looking at?
I see
Are we
you.
live? Oh, we
We are
are. Okay.
live.
Good
Hi,
deal.
everybody.
How is everybody? I'm trying to get this thing open so I can see it. We're gonna do a little bit of the Q&A tonight because we don't have a ton of news to talk about. I know what you guys are gonna start asking about. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I know what's coming. Um, yeah, we'll talk about it. But other than that, there's not. I'll be quite honest. I'm really sad. I'm kind of depressed. I mean, we've gone now a whole week with zero news on Summer Wells, and that's not good. And I don't think we're going to see another press conference until they find her. I don't
Yeah.
think we're going to get any more updates.
Yeah, they said they
It's
won't be
not.
doing an update until they have actual information to give out or some new development in the case. So we may
Yeah.
not hear from them for quite a while. And that it is a gut punch, you know?
Because what else could you have done? Over 120 agencies in what 7 states. What else could they have done?
I can't think of anything. I mean, they had dogs, they had helicopters, they had searchers, they had FBI. Everyone
Everybody
was
came.
looking for this little girl, and it's been over 2 weeks, and not a single trace of her has been found anywhere.
Yeah, that we know of.
Yep.
There are some rumors today, and I'm going to talk about this because it doesn't involve anybody. Okay. I, I have no idea if this is credible or not, but somebody posting as a neighbor. Hey, when you sent me this,
Yep.
I got out of the Facebook group, guys. I was done. I was done. Those Facebook groups were useful for about the first 48 hours in a case because you can get a lot of information, links to people's Facebook account, that kind of junk, pictures. After that, it's just a mess. So I got out because we weren't getting anywhere. But I guess a guy posted today saying that he was the direct neighbor of the Wells,
Mm-hmm.
and that you could correct me if I'm wrong because I didn't see it, but that the police had come to his house asking to search his land and that kind of stuff, and he let them,
Mm-hmm.
and that they found fresh footprints out in the woods and
They,
had found direct evidence that she had been in the woods, and the dogs had on it. Right? Is
not
that what?
exactly. They said
Okay.
they found a barefoot footprint, as in
Okay.
one, but the dogs did train her scent on it. And so he asked the neighbor if his kids were out barefoot or what size shoes they were, see if it was possibly his kids. And he said that his kids never are allowed outside barefoot, so it would not have been his kids. And that the dogs did hit on that footprint as hers in the very early days of the investigation. But that's it. They never followed through. They didn't never said anything else about it to him. So is that true? Is it an old footprint? Is it a new footprint? Nobody knows. Nobody knows anything. So that's all we got, which is horrible.
I
It's horrible.
tend to err on the side that that's believable because he
Mhm.
doesn't have anything to gain from it.
Right.
It's not trashing anybody. It's def it's definitely not what everybody's talking about. If you want to come out with, yeah, I saw Candace out in the backyard with aliens last night, you could probably get a pretty hot interview from the looks of it. So him saying that, in according to him, it looks like maybe she did go off in the woods,
Right.
possibly. And it would make sense. The amount of looking that they did for as long as they did, it would be hard to believe they would spend that kind of resources and not have anything, you know what I mean, to go
Right.
on when it was that dangerous. I don't know. But, I have no idea. I don't know this guy. I don't know how credible he is. I don't know if he's really a neighbor or just some rando on the internet that wants to be involved for a minute. I
Right.
don't know. But and after I read it, I was like, "Oh, that's good news." And I'm like, "No, it's not.
No, it's
No, it's
not.
not. I don't even know if I want to believe that because at this point, the chances of her being alive are not even, unless somebody has her in
Yeah.
some very weird change of like a weird personality, somebody like the one that kidnapped Peterson, one that
Mm-hmm.
kidnapped Jamie Kloss and kept
Yeah.
her. Somebody like Elizabeth Smart's kidnapper, people like that. It's usually people that snatch kids don't keep them very long.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so her chances of being alive are very, very small.
Yeah.
So I don't
So
know. I want to think she wandered around in the woods until she died. No. Do I want to think her family has anything to do with it? No. I don't know. I don't know what you hope for in that situation other than it was quick and painless.
yeah. So should we jump into the events of last night? Because that's what everyone's thinking about.
Can we talk about the behavior panel first?
Yes. Yes. Good idea.
Did y'all watch the behavior panel? I am like a fangirl for the behavior panel. I loved him. I'm a relatively new convert, maybe 6 weeks or so. I haven't followed him forever, but I've seen him on Dr. Phil and other different things. Their analysis was really good. I don't know how much research they did other than like just a few interviews that they talked about. Is that all they saw? I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, but I really agreed with them, and you could tell everybody it wasn't live, it was a premiere or whatever. A lot of people were like, oh, I'm so glad you're doing this case. You guys are the best. And then when they started saying, we don't see signs of deception here, and this could be that, it was like, it took a drastic turn in the
Yep.
comments,
I
in
was
my opinion.
really I was really nervous about that video because, as
Yeah.
I've been taking their course, right? The
Yep.
body language analytics or tactics, whatever. Their paid course. I've been working on it for about 2 weeks now. I'm done with it, but I'm going through it a second time. And so I applied their techniques from their course, right? Their
Right.
checklist and everything that you have to go through. And I watched the interview of the parents, and I'm like, huh, interesting. Not what I expected to get out of it. And I put my analysis of that in our Discord server. Right.
Right.
Said, here's what I got using their techniques. So when they did the video, I was like, oh no. Well, this will tell if their course is good or not, or if I failed it like a
Right.
chump or not. And I was like, they're going to say they're guilty and I'm missed everything. Oh no. But no, they were like, yeah, we don't see any deception here. I was like, oh, thank goodness. So at least their course is right, whether it's accurate or not. I learned from the course. But I really did agree with them. I
Yeah, I
really
did
did.
too.
And it's hard because we certainly are holding a very unpopular opinion in the internet right now that the
Mhm.
parents are not lying and making this all up. They may be telling a few things here and there that aren't spot on, but I don't think they had anything to do with Summer's disappearance. And that's very unpopular. And certainly the behavior panel coming out and saying that, they got a lot of flack for
Ooh, they
that.
got a
People
lot
did
of
not
flack.
like hearing that from them. But either you think these guys are experts or they're not. They're not terrible when they disagree with you, but brilliant when they do agree with you. So, but yeah, that was very interesting.
It's
And
just so funny to see people singing their praises, for the 30 minutes they were in chat before the premiere started. And then as soon as they said, we don't see any signs of deception, we don't think her story has changed. And
mm,
it was like, y'all are a bunch of idiots. It's like, I've been on Facebook for 5 minutes. Let me tell you.
yep,
It was just
yep,
like, when I saw that they didn't have any moderators and the amount of people that were showing up, I was like, this is not going to go well.
yep.
But look them up. They're a good, if they're a good true crime channel. They just do behavior analysis. They're the four, in my opinion, they're probably the four best people in the world that are public. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that do this for the military and that kind of thing that aren't public because they still
Right.
do it. But they come from different walks of life. They're military. They're everyday. One of them deals with um, more political people, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see. I kind of thought, yeah, I have no idea. That thought just went straight out of my brain. It was interesting though. If you haven't ever seen them, go check out their channel. They've got some really good ones. They had Dr. Phil on recently to talk about another case. That was interesting.
Yep. Here's a link to their YouTube, although you can just look up the behavior panel on YouTube and it'll bring it up for you. But there's a link. They do have a paid course that you can take. It's about $89 and you get a whole bunch of lessons. Took me about 2 weeks to get through it. And then they also have a membership only website where they continue on from that course and they do live Q&As and all kinds of stuff. That's I think $19 a month. But if you really want to get into behavioral analysis, here's a great place to start. So I've taken it and I really like it. I know a couple of our other friends are taking it right now with us. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we all get out of it.
And you don't have to be a YouTube somebody. I'm a YouTube nobody, but to do this is great information to have. Just dealing with everyday people. You can read people in good and bad ways.
Yep. My husband is a pawnbroker, and he's taking the course with me because it's very good for him to be able to immediately assess the threat level of someone coming into the shop, because they do sell guns there and things, and sometimes people get really, really mad if they've lost their pawn loan or something like that, and being able to assess the risk from those people as they walk in the door is a very useful tool for him. Plus, if somebody's lying or not, it's really, people try to sell a lot of stolen things. And so being able to assess that much quicker. So it's useful for all kinds of things in life, not just, YouTube stuff. So.
I watched the, somebody in chat talking about Peter Hyatt.
Yeah.
Second unpopular opinion of the night. Not a fan of Peter Hyatt. But I don't have to be. I don't know. He I guess the difference in him and the behavior panel, he does a written analysis, statement analysis. He doesn't really read body language. He reads the words themselves. And I don't know. He's touched on a few cases since I've been in the true crime world where he was way off base. And I thought it was, I don't know. It's what he does. He's the behavior panel apparently really likes him. They say he's the best in his field.
But they disagree with his assessment of this case.
Yeah, they did.
So, there's that. But
I don't know. Because I remember when the Hadi Broussard case was going on, he analyzed Shane.
And was wrong, dead wrong.
In his first couple of sentences, when you ask Shane what happens, what happened from the time you woke up, what happened that day? And he said, I got up, I went and got a glass of water, I checked on, I don't remember what was said after that. And Peter Hyatt flew into it. He said something about drinking water, it means he's guilty. And by the end of it, he said that to him, it looked like Shane would be guilty of inappropriately, I don't think it's his YouTube channel, yanked down, inappropriately messed with this beautiful baby that's,
right,
4 weeks old at the time. She was tiny. And Shane wasn't even involved. So did he issue a statement after that saying, sorry, Shane, I told everybody you were a pedophile?
Yeah. And someone in chat said that Peter thinks that there was neglect, not murder. Well, it doesn't take statement analysis to come to that conclusion, really. I mean, yeah, I don't think these are the greatest parents in the world. I've never said that. If you look at the state of their yard and their home and the children's clothing and this and that, they were certainly not, super parents, I guess. I don't know what to say.
But there's a Grand Canyon between murdered their child and parent of the year.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
It'll all come out in the wash at the end of the day. Hopefully. I mean, this could be a McCann case where 20 years from now we're still talking about what happened to Summer Wells. I hope there is some resolution. I hope they find her alive somewhere. I think the hope for that is starting to fade, but I don't know. And from law enforcement this week, we have nothing. Not a word. And that's so distressing.
They've shut down the command center. They said they're still, I've got hiccups, guys. Sorry. They're still looking. They're still taking tips and all that stuff. They've come out on TV, they've released statements. Please quit screenshotting us stuff on Facebook and sending it in.
Yeah. They have come out and directly said that all of the rumors on social media are actually hindering their investigation. So we certainly don't want to feed into that problem. And we're just going by what law enforcement says. And so far, we know nothing more than last week. Not a darn thing.
Well, that's not true. I found out a lot of stuff last night. You want to get
Well,
into last night?
all right, let's talk about last night. This was, I'm a little shook by what I saw last night, but my biggest thing is, well, before I say that, what happened last night, Allison Mulaney, I think her last name is, the mother of the 15-year-old boy that was swimming with Summer. I'm not saying his name. She went on a YouTube live stream and gave an interview, I guess you could call it, about what she knows and thinks about the case. And man, Trainwreck does not begin to cover this. Jess, what did you think of it?
I'm just going to start by saying, well, first I'm going to tell whichever kid just opened my door, I'm on the live and he better go away. That worked. I have nothing bad to say about the channel that invited him on. I don't watch the channel because I'd never heard of it until they interviewed Candace last week too, I guess. So this is like anything that I say has no reflection on the channel. I understand why they wanted to interview the people that Candace and now H's mom and H's mom's friend. I get it. They said they really wanted to do the interview because they wanted to clear up speculation, and I believe that they probably did. Did they achieve it? I don't think so.
Oh, I think it made it worse.
I think it made it worse. I think they cleared up a few things, if you believe what she said. But boy, more stuff came out. I think more came out than went away.
Yep.
I guess the first thing is you kind of have to take in mind who this is. This is H's mom, who both her and Candace have both said there's some bad blood there. So asking their opinion on Candace and her family and things like that, this is not an unbiased opinion that you're going to get. So what did you think about it?
I was watching it to find her motivation. What was her motivation for the things she was saying? Yeah. And she went on for 2 hours saying every bad thing she could think of about Candace and her whole family. Yeah. She even had some bad things to say about her own kids, which was curious to me. So I really question her motivation. Watching the body language with everything we've learned from the behavior panel was deception the entire way through. And honestly, I just thought she was gleeful in having this platform to be able to say all these horrible things about Candace and Don and all these other people. And that, to me, just the motivation called the entire thing into question. That was it.
Yeah, I think the motivation was, in my opinion, watching it, what I got out of it, and what she flat out said. She wanted to clear up rumors about her being a meth head, her son being involved in any kind of disappearance, what the transporter group, I'm not saying their name in the video.
Yeah.
Not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. I don't want that guy looking at me. What the transport group has said in lives, like she wanted to clear some of that stuff up. It was basically everything people have accused Candace of, like caring too much about what people said on social media about her that has nothing to do with Summer. I think that's what this was, in my opinion. I think it's the same thing. Is she believable? Not to me. I don't know her. I mean, it's hard to put somebody in the dark inside a car. I mean, she looks like they all looked kind of like they were passing around the flashlight, around the campfire, telling ghost stories. At one point, I mean, and fireworks going off in the background. I joked with Awen, that's it. Tonight we're all going to go on and we're all going to be sitting in our car. We're just going to do interviews from our car from now.
Yep. But here's a question that I have for everyone that watched that, and certainly I've been watching the Facebook and social media today about it, and everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, she told all this stuff, and obviously Candace did it, right?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute, you're saying you believe this woman 100%, who has clear motivation here that is not finding Summer? You believe everything she said 100%, but you think everything Candace said is a lie. How do you come to that? How do you come to that? You know,
Because
that's
and I've said this in I think last week's live stream. I think a lot of people, not everybody, a lot of people get into true crime because your brain is trying to put together a puzzle to see the red flags, to see some kind of something. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
don't know what the word is I'm looking for. But it's really easy to look at something like this, which is terrifying. The fact that a 5-year-old little girl can go missing and 120 agencies can't find her, that's terrifying.
yep,
So your brain wants to say there's got to be a boogeyman
yep,
because I don't want to think that this could happen to me. And unfortunately, it can. It can happen to anybody in the blink of an eye.
yeah,
And so it's your brain, and that's just psychology. I mean, it doesn't say anything about you. You're not a bad person or whatever. It's just what the brain does. They want to find a reason to tell you that you're okay because it protects your mental health. That's normal.
yep,
But this interview, I think, fed that there's a bad guy, bad guys, and
yep.
it's easier to just say, yeah, the parents did it.
I think what the way that we're approaching it, Jess, is we don't believe 100% anything that anyone has said,
Mm-mm.
except law enforcement. I don't believe everything Candace and Don have said is 100% perfectly accurate. I don't think they hurt their child either, but that's, my own assessment. But I don't believe this woman either. They all have a motivation. They're all slinging mud at each other. And it's getting to the point where this is Days of Our Lives, not a search for a missing girl. And I just can't stand it. I can't stand it.
Yep.
I thought it was a nightmare interview.
Yeah. I just, by the Candace and Allison's own account, they quit talking. Their relationship severed. She said that back when the domestic violence thing was filed, what, October before last, or whatever, last October, whenever it was, she didn't have a relationship with her. And according to her, that kicked off because the man that was at the house, she had a thing with him. I don't know what that
Yeah.
thing was. I'm just gonna leave it there. And that then Candace hit on him, and she said, "That's just not right. You don't do that to your friend." And so their relationship stopped. So
Yeah.
then I wanted, Awen and I watched it together, and I said, "If that's true, why are you allowing your 15-year-old son to go with somebody that you don't trust
Mm-hmm.
without you? That doesn't make sense." And it's not like it would be different, I think, if H was in the age range with her boys and they were all best friends. But to go with a mom, a grandma, and a 5-year-old little girl, to me, is strange.
Yep.
Um, why would you do that? And then, they asked her some other questions about the day. And some things she was like, I can't talk about that because it's an investigation. And then 5 minutes later, she'd talk about it in another way.
Yeah.
In my honest to God opinion, and this is going to be there ought to be a button for this unpopular opinion. I'm of the belief that the story about Candace giving him alcohol is not true. And I'll tell you why. Watching her last night when they said, is it true that H had alcohol that day? Yep, absolutely. And then a few minutes later, they asked a follow up question: how much alcohol did he have? Was Candace drinking that day? And she said, I can't talk about that as part of the investigation.
Right.
So then why'd she talk about it in the first place? Why wasn't that I can't answer that?
Yeah. Pretty much everything she said was suspect to me. I don't believe it just because she said it. I'm sure some of the things she said were true, but those things seem to be anything that made Candace look terrible. Everything else about her and her kids and her relationship with the kids and her daughter, it was like, whoa, what is going on here? I mean, let's talk about H for a minute. He's 15 years old. We knew not much about him at all until
Now we
his
do.
father goes on Facebook, said, my son said this, my son did that, she had alcohol, da 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 da. Where's my son? And he makes this whole thing about his son. And I'm like, why would you do that to your kid? Deal with this privately, go to the court, do do the way you're supposed to do instead of slagging your own son off on Facebook, and all of a sudden everybody's digging into every information they can find about your son. What are you doing, right? And now here's the mom doing it, and I'm like, oh, what is wrong with these parents? What are you doing? But they're using H's involvement to sling mud at each other and at Candace and the Wells family. And I'm like, this is not okay. Whatever's going on here with all of them, there's some messed up stuff. And they need some serious Dr. Phil level intervention in this group of people.
More than Dr. Phil. They need a yarn. That fixed my life. I love watching that woman. I'm not even kidding. I'll take this back. I'll take that back. The one thing that she said that I agreed with, I think the whole night, was they said, so what's going on with H and his dad and the custody and the visitation thing? Mm-hmm. She said, H talked to him, has been talking to him about this the whole night. He never got involved and made himself known and argued and involved his transport company until the reward was posted. Mm-hmm. And I said that when it came out.
You said that day.
I think it is suspect that now the dad is screaming from the rooftop, give me 48 hours with Hunter and I will get all the truth out of him, which is a scary thought. Mm-hmm. But now this is coming from his mama. I don't know. I mean, she knows the dad better than I do. I just said I thought it was suspect that it came out after the reward with the $50,000.
Yep.
And he didn't go to court. He went to a transport company.
Right. And you also have to think, if everything she said about his dad was true, about bringing all the people down, they stayed at Candace's house. This is where that Jose guy comes into play, related somehow to the dad or something. It's like, if all that is true, then you really have to have everything the dad is doing under suspicion as well, because all of it is just a giant mess. I mean, this is Jerry Springer level mess with this group of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the bottom line is, it's about a missing girl, not about their interpersonal dramas.
It wasn't about Summer.
It was not about Summer. It was about Allison making herself feel better by making Candace look even worse.
My favorite question of the whole night was, what do you wish you had done differently? And I think it says a lot about her, because in her story, she says when they dropped Hunter off, that she came out to talk to Candace. Well, I thought you said you hadn't talked to Candace in a year and a half. And if y'all ain't talking, why did you go out to the car to do? I mean, she wasn't walking Hunter to the car. It's 15. H, should have said his name. But she says that she goes and asks about the trip and asks about Grandma, because Grandma had been at the hospital or whatever. And that she saw Summer in the back seat asleep, laying against the milk things. And she, according to her, she says she told Candace she wanted to get her out and hug her.
Right.
And Candace said, I don't have time. I've got to get these groceries home, which sounds believable. But why would she be like, I want to get her out? This is not a brand new baby. Oh, my God, get it out. I want to hold it. This is a 5-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. That seems suspect to me. But when she asked her, what do you wish you had done differently? Her answer she said, I wish I had made her wake her up so that I could see she was okay. And I'm like,
that's ridiculous.
That's the stupidest thing. You wouldn't. Yeah. You don't regret letting your son go. You don't regret not calling CPS if all the stuff that you said is true about Candace and her house and the family. You don't regret talking about it on social media. You don't regret having a relationship with them to begin with. I mean, there's so many things there. I can't imagine regret. Like, what if?
Plus, at that time, when they came back, she would have had no reason to suspect anything was wrong with Summer. So why would she regret not making sure she was okay? Why would you have thought anything was wrong with her at that point? You wouldn't have. You thought, oh, she's sleeping. Okay. So, but just to clear up a point earlier, you said that they haven't talked in a year and a half. They were friends for a year and a half, and they had their big fight last September, October with the Jose issue. That was when Don was arrested, because Don says Candace was trying to make him jealous by having this Jose at the house. So he comes all the way home from another state, finds him there, and they have this big fight. But turns out that was Allison's boyfriend, or goodness only knows what that's all about. But yeah, that was last September when they stopped talking. So
But that tells
Weird.
you so that also tells you something about Candace and Dawn. Her
Mm-hmm.
husband came down from New York with 15 people.
No, not Don. That was Allison's.
Candace and Dawn let them stay
Oh,
there.
yeah, okay.
What can I tell you? They don't have crap. They don't have the money to be putting at people like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they let them come.
And who are these 14 people? Is that not a little strange to you? That was like, wait, what? Who? What 14 people? H's father and 14 of his friends, kids, family, what? And they
I don't
stay
know.
with Candace? I was like, I don't understand what's going on. I don't get it.
And
I
at
don't
one
want to
point,
know.
Allison says that she and her children moved in with Candace and Dawn. So you can't tell me, you know,
Yep.
it just doesn't make sense. Did you call CPS? If everything is wrong, I mean, the stories that she tells about there's no dishes, the
Oh, can we
place
talk
is
about that?
filthy. That was just so
Let's talk
stupid
about
to me.
what she said about the dish story. There was a picture on social media of a plate with a cigarette lighter on it and a dog on the table, right? And everyone's like, "Oh my God, they're doing crack or whatever." I was like, "It's a plate. What are you talking?" And they even zoomed into the picture to try to find crumbs to see what was on. It's like, for crying out loud, people. But she explains this now. In her mind, she's explaining this so it makes sense. But what I heard was even more shocking than if it had been drugs. She says
Still
that
insane.
Candace's mom was making them fried green tomatoes, but that was the only clean plate in the house. So they were sharing it back and forth. And she lit a cigarette and then just put her lighter back down on the plate. But I'm like, okay, I all right. And then she explains the dog on the table. She says, that was my son's dog. So that was H's dog. But he was in the house because he had fleas. So they gave him a flea bath in Dawn dish soap and then put him on the table so she could show him how to pick the dead fleas off the dog. I'm like,
On the
on the
kitchen table.
table next to where you are all right. This is how they do things out there in the holler. I don't know. I'm out. I'm like, woman, that did not make you look any better. You just say
I
it's drugs. Just say it's drugs.
just say it's drugs. I can honestly say I've never had a dog on my kitchen table.
Oh,
But like when she asked her why she wanted to be there, she said she wanted to clear up the rumors on Facebook. And she said, like what? Well, I'm not on meth. Look at the size of me. Do I look like I'm on meth? Which, okay,
I
that's what
mean,
you want to
there's
clear
something
up.
to that. My mom did
Okay,
suggest the meth diet to me once when I said I was trying to
okay.
lose weight. Yeah.
And then it
Okay.
was, I want to clear up the stuff about H's dad and the custody dispute. And I was like, okay, I don't think that should be on social media anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
not my kid. And then what was so strange to me, her friend Leslie, probably the most believable of the bunch, but I don't know exactly how she's even tied in with this other than she's Allison's friend.
Right.
Um, she says, it really bothers me what people are doing to the kids. And I was like, oh, here we go. Finally, somebody with some sense. Going to
Mm-hmm.
talk about how they're dragging the kids into it and how awful it's going to be. But then, after she says that, she starts talking about Candace's kids. And I'm like,
Yep.
you don't want people to do that to H, but you'll do it to Candace's kids.
Yep.
She put out there that one of the kids was drinking for attention. She said that she thought that Dawn was controlling the little boy in the video, the interview, that he obviously knew something and was afraid to look at the camera, and Dawn wasn't going to let him talk. And I'm like, then why did Dawn let him be in the stupid interviews?
Yep. And see, that's what I meant earlier when all of these people have their own motivation.
Yeah.
And it's not what they say it is. So Allison certainly was not there to clear up any rumors. She was there to fan the flames of them. And this Leslie, I don't want people doing this to the kids, and then turns around and slags off the other kids. I'm like, what are you doing? So look at what they're saying and try to figure out their motivation when you're determining who you want to believe in this mess, because that's a big problem. That was a huge problem for me.
And even if you want to believe it, if you want to believe every daggone rumor that's out there, you can. But so, even if she's guilty of a lot of the stuff that they're saying, it doesn't mean she killed Summer.
Mm. Yep.
Like it still, that's what I keep getting back to. What does this have to do with Summer?
Yep.
What is your relationship with Candace have to do with Summer? What does your custody agreement have to do with Summer?
Mm-hmm.
And it ran all over me. And I thought, she's going to, I felt bad for H. I've felt bad for H since he came into this daggone thing. I think it's absolutely ridiculous
Yep.
that his dad put all this information out, hired a transport company who doxed him. I mean, for crying out loud, you can probably go get a copy of his birth certificate and a social security card right now with the information out there.
Yep. And the dad too. He also doxed the dad.
Yeah,
Got the dad's cell phone
everybody.
number. I was like, oh, good job.
You've
I'll
got
call the dad now.
both parents' physical address. You have his entire name, his birthday, their
Yep.
phone numbers. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then what he's saying about his parents, this guy doesn't know the parents from Adam.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. And
Yep.
it just was weird. So then she's clearing up rumors about that live, about the transporter guy's live. I'm not going to say their name because it's really close to another organization's name that I actually really do respect.
Right.
So I think it's sad that they have really close to the same name because I went as far as to go take it out of my Amari video because I thought it was the same company. That's
Yep.
how mad I was. And then I looked into it. Their names are like one word away from each other, two very different company organizations, whatever they're called. But she's talking about her daughter because the guy made a lot of allegations about her daughter being a runaway. She didn't have any control over. And so then she puts out all of her daughter's business.
Yep. To save her own butt, to make herself look better, she threw her own daughter under the bus. I'm like, wow. All right, another candidate for Parent of the Year here. Here we go.
I mean, she outed her in every sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
Outed her as a 16-year-old. Somehow I doubt her daughter wants that on YouTube. And I'm just like, y'all, these little boys, okay, Summer's little brothers, H, and now H's sister at this point, all of these kids and their kids are going back to school in the fall. What on this channel have we learned about this stupid year? People's mental health is absolutely through the gutter. I mean, beyond the basement, through the floor.
Right.
People are not mentally healthy right now. Who's paying for it? Kids. Left, right, and center. They're not going to school. They're not being around other people. They're not in front of mandated reporters, and they're not getting any kind of social activity. Okay? So what do we see? We have seen child suicides through the roof this year. I know people don't want to talk about it because it's ugly. I have heard of child suicides in the absolute youngest ages I've ever heard in my life, over and over and over this year. Do you think passing around rumors in a Facebook group or on YouTube because you enjoy true crime and you want to put your thought out there, your speculation, your theory, which is your right to do, but when all of this is over, and we don't even know if it will be over, because what happens if they don't find Summer? These little boys are going to go back to school, and her daughter. And the rumors that are floating around about Candace and H, you think they're going to be high-fiving him in the hallways of the high school for having a relationship with Candace?
Mm.
Okay, you add that. That's going to start some bullying at school, number one.
Yep.
Second thing that's going to happen, she says that Hunter's afraid to leave the house. He will not go to work. He doesn't go out with his girlfriend. That he is physically afraid to leave the house because he thinks that guy's going to kidnap him. She says he does not want to go to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that mess, I have no idea if that's true or not. I have no idea. I know things in that video that the transporter said are false. He did lie, and he published the lie himself. So I don't know what to believe, but it has nothing to do with Summer.
No, but the bottom line is the parents should have been the last line of defense, keeping that boy's name out of the media.
Yep.
They were the ones throwing it out there, and that bothers me in so many levels.
Yeah. And but the fact that his parents are fighting not only at home privately, but publicly in front of everybody. Everybody knows his custody agreement. They know what his mom looks like, his grandma looks like, his great grandma. Shoot, his great grandma was drug into it last night. They
Mm-hmm.
know everything about him.
Yep.
Do you think this to a 15-year-old boy doesn't feel like the end of the world?
Yep.
When people are accusing him of being Summer's brother, Summer's dad, I mean, that's even going around. Give me a break. He would have been 9.
Yep.
What? People, let's find 2 brain cells to rub together and start a forest fire.
Yep.
Do you think? And people accusing him of downright hurting Summer in more ways than one. And I'm not even going to say that, what has been put out. So in this boy's brain, he thinks, oh my God, I can't leave my house to go to work.
Yep.
What's he going to do when it comes back time to go to school? Everybody knows my business. Home is not safe. I have a dude trying to yank me out of here and take me to New York. My parents are fighting. Um, now I'm not allowed to spend time at Candace and Dawn's house because apparently that was a thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Appropriate, inappropriate. I have no idea what's going on there. But now he's lost somewhere that he usually goes. What does that do to a teenager who
Yep.
doesn't think long term about anything? Just think about the crap you thought about when you were 15. Things that you thought were the end of the world that you would pray to just have that problem as an adult now. You
Yeah.
know, this
Mm-hmm.
is not safe and it's your own doing.
Yep.
And I mean your by his parents.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if, God forbid, another person ends up in a bad state, dead or whatever, involved in this case? What do you think his parents are going to feel like if that happens?
I don't think they'll understand it. I don't really, unfortunately. But
This
I
kid
think
needs a victim's advocate so bad,
he does.
so
He does.
badly.
And as far as the internet stuff goes, what bothers me is it's already a McCann situation where did the parents do it or did something else happen? That's it. You're in one of two camps. You can't be above that and be like, I don't know what happened. Because then people start yelling at you. And if you come out and make a post, so I think the parents did it, 50% of the people will rake you over the coals. So if you say, I don't think they did it, the other 50% rakes you. I mean, it's just nasty. It's very nasty right now with this case. But nobody is approaching this the way law enforcement would. Law enforcement doesn't believe anything until they have verified evidence that backs up any of these claims. They don't believe anything. They question everything. And if we all approached it the same way, I think it would be better off. I don't believe anybody in this case has told 100% of the truth. So I'm waiting for some evidence that tells me what's true and what isn't. We don't have any of that yet because law enforcement certainly isn't going to tell us what they're digging up. So we have to just go with that for now. I know it's hard and I know it's frustrating because you want answers, but this is not the way to get them. It is not. And law enforcement has even said, can y'all please stop? Because you're making our jobs so much harder with all of this nonsense. Just quit it. Let us do the work. We know what we're doing. Chill out. Stop sending us all this crap because we have to look at everything. So just quit it and let us figure it out. When we know, if we can, we'll tell you. That's it. Period. That's all we know.
Yeah. It's so, we focus on H on that, but I can't even imagine Summer's brothers going back to school. Everybody's like, oh, your mom's messing around with a 15-year-old, gives alcohol. And now she said that that the little boy had alcohol, the little one. Oh, so my mom thinks your mom killed your sister. What really happened?
Yep. Yep. Now,
What kid is equipped to deal with that? What adult's equipped to deal with that, for crying out loud?
no one is. No one is. Two interesting comments from chat. Liz Kaspari, hi, how are you doing today? She says, isn't it interesting that in the Morphew case, the two girls were so protected, yet this young teen is being dragged? Is it because of their social status? That's a good question. What do you think, Jess?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If these people were rich, they wouldn't be drugged through this. And the prime example is the one up in Connecticut. You haven't heard crap about her kids when she went missing.
Yep.
And the Morphew
Definitely.
case. Well, even the Madeline McCann case. Does anybody talk about Madeline's brother and sister?
Nope.
No.
Nope. And Algo has a good comment. Especially with how the public has behaved in social media, law enforcement will not share a thing of substance. Now, that's a good point, because we have heard over the last couple of years with the development of the true crime internet stuff, how sometimes law enforcement can find it useful to crowdsource these investigations, and certainly through social media stuff, right? And certainly in the Vallow case, you know how much we can find if you know how to Google stuff properly, right? And that could be a very useful tool for law enforcement. But a case like this, that just tells law enforcement, stay off the internet. These people are crazy. You know, it's like the people on the internet are crazier than the people they're investigating. So they're just going to turn around and not look at anything. Oh, that's from the internet. Nope, nope, nope. Fruit of the poisonous tree kind of deal. So that's something to think about.
I don't know, just making assumptions. Everybody's looking at this case. This is not just an East Tennessee thing. I think at this point it's definitely a national case. It's got the eyeballs on it, you know. It's probably not Vallow level yet, but give it a minute. If we know that CPS is involved, we knew CPS was there Wednesday. She was missing on Tuesday. By Wednesday, CPS were there. And law enforcement stayed around the clock for almost 2 weeks. They watched who came in and who came out of that property. They had it blocked off at the road. Only certain people were let in. So, if you're telling me, and I know I'm the first one that complains about CPS and some shady stuff going on there and no accountability. If they are slacking off in this, it won't. I can't imagine that somebody won't get in trouble. I can't if they screw this up. So for all the people that are like, yank them kids out of there, Candace did it, or Dawn did it, waterboard them till they confess. And yes, I've actually seen that comment. Y'all, if there is nothing wrong with what's going on in that house, i.e., there's not drugs, yeah, the house could use a good cleaning, yeah, but there's a ton of us that could be true about. They might not have the best resources. I have to believe that CPS is at least hooking them up with some resources.
Yeah.
But if you being judgy about it and your opinion is yank those kids out of there, do you know what kind of traumatization you are causing to kids who have just been terrified? See, this is also why I think that Candace didn't have anything to do with it. She's not letting those kids go out in the yard. That's not a mom that knows that she did something to Summer. I would be yanking my hair out if my 3 wound up boys were stuck under my feet. I would be, get out in the yard, go outside, go do anything but get out of my hair. She's not even letting them outside. So if you're telling me CPS is there watching and is looking, and I'm sure they have interviewed the kids by themselves for people who think that hasn't happened yet. I cannot imagine a case where that has not happened yet. If you yank those kids out of a house where they are completely terrified of what has happened to their little sister, they're being harassed when they do go out of the house. We know that they've left once, and adults, grown adults, harass them without their parents even being there.
And furthermore, the person that took them out, some guy, I'm not even going to say his name, from the church, who knows the family through the church, took the boys out for a day, took them to do some mini golf, get them out of the house, get them doing something a little normal, right? And he went on the news and talked about it and showed a picture and said that he likes to play his flute for Summer every night. Within, hours of that video, this man was doxxed on Facebook. Pictures of his house, his full name, his career history, everything about this guy. Oh my God, he must have done it. And I'm like,
shame on people.
Wow.
I mean, if there's evidence, absolutely. And I've said that this whole time. If the parents have anything to do with it, put me on the daggone jury. I am here in Tennessee. Come pick me up. I will sit on that jury all day long. I will absolutely, anybody that hurts kids, I will give them the death penalty every time. Like, there is no excuse in my book. I'm not taking it for anybody. But trying to ruin somebody's life who genuinely, we don't know that he has any ulterior motive. People are like, he's up at the house every day. Well, if the police have the daggone place locked down, don't you think they're screening who comes in, and it's a very short list of people that's allowed to?
Yep.
Or else everybody and their daggone mama down at the Southern Baptist Church would be like, I have a casserole. Let me come visit you. So what really happened? Y'all know the blue-haired ladies at the Southern Baptist Church. You ain't got nothing nice to say, come sit next to me.
Yep.
The prayer request is gossip hour. And I know because I've been there.
Yep.
You know they've got that place. Very limited amount of people are coming into that place. And if they have okayed the guy from the church to take the kids out of the house, the least people can do is not harass them.
Yep.
You know?
Granted, he did look like the guy from the Lovely Bones movie.
Yeah, he could
There
be Stanley
is
Tucci.
a little creepiness. I get that. But that you don't go doxing people on the internet who are trying to help the boys. Law enforcement is going to look at that. Why do people think law enforcement won't run this guy? You know, how can you think that they won't? That's crazy to me. Now we have a comment in chat from Stacy E that says, "Sorry, but the parents are guilty." So Stacy, I'd like to ask you, how do you know that? Tell me what evidence you have that shows the parents are guilty. I'd like to see, because that's something that we're trying to fight
I don't
against.
know. I'm not saying that they're not guilty. I've been saying that the
Right.
whole time. I
But
said
we're
out
also
of the
not saying they
interview
are.
from Dawn, right? I don't know. You know, when law enforcement says they're cooperating and we haven't even had to get a search warrant, that holds some weight in my book. And I don't think, I even hate to say this, I just don't think that they're smart enough to have hidden a 5-year-old little girl from 120 agencies. I just don't. There's
Okay.
too much, like, it can't be some long drawn out timeline when they went to a hospital, a pharmacy, a grocery store. They dropped Hunter off. They have video and photographs that are time stamped, and we know what time the police were called. You know,
Yeah.
this is not the West Boys where we have no freaking idea when they actually went missing.
Right.
I
So
just, and I'm not saying my opinion is worth more than anybody else's. If you think the parents are guilty, that's your right. I'm not even going to argue with you about it. I don't, you can have that opinion.
the
I'm not
difference
saying that
is
mine.
how you
I
state it.
just don't. I
Like,
just don't say that they are because I don't know.
right.
You
Stacy
know?
just came back and said, "I just know something isn't right. That's my opinion." That's a very different statement from "I know the parents are guilty." When you say
Yeah.
that, you're stating it as a fact. Nobody knows that. Not even law enforcement knows who's
I'll
guilty right
agree.
now.
I'll agree with that statement. There is something wrong.
Yep.
Number one, I've still got my eyeball on Candace. I've still got my eyeball on Grandma. Grandma ain't put herself on camera either. Not that I blame her at this point, because it sure didn't do Candace any good doing an interview.
Yeah.
People were screaming and screaming, put her on camera, and then she get on camera and she can't do anything right.
Yep.
I don't know what. I guess I don't know what else people want, especially from Dawn. What the heck can he do that would make people think, okay, he's being open, let law enforcement do what they're going to do? I can't think of anything else that they could possibly do other than turn themselves in and confess that would make anybody go, oh, okay.
Yep.
But
Caldonia asks,
Candace, go ahead.
oh, sorry. Caldonia asks, what kind of criminal history would one need to have before it becomes okay to critique their behavior? And what I'll say is critiquing their behavior is still very different than saying they're guilty.
I'll
Jess?
critique their behavior. You want my opinion? I worked with domestic violence victims for years. My mom founded a domestic violence shelter, and we also had another program who helped mothers getting out of rehab and jail get their kids back. I have worked with people with drug problems, domestic violence problems, you name it. Get kids back, shouldn't get kids back, the whole shebang. I've seen it. What doesn't, in my mind, what doesn't add up about Candace and what irritates me, and I haven't said this yet, everybody is so dang sure that Don did something because he had a protective order put on him. Well, y'all aren't saying, whether people know it or not, Candace was convicted and did time for domestic violence in another state. And what I can tell you by working with domestic violence victims is usually somebody that's convicted of domestic violence does not later in life become a victim of it.
Mm-hmm.
Two very different people. That doesn't add up in my book.
Yep.
So her domestic violence claims, I'm not one of those believe all women. I've seen too many dang people. And it's sickening. People who will claim that they have been assaulted and this, that, and the other that haven't been are hurting those that have. That's why it's so dang hard to get a protective order and that kind of thing. That doesn't add up to me.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean she killed her kid, though, in my book. And I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on here.
There was a
I
comment
don't.
in chat that just went by that said something about how many of these cases have we seen where the parents come on and they're fake crying and we find out
A
later on that they
ton.
did it. There are
A
so many of those.
ton.
Look at Susan Smith, right? The woman who
Oh,
drowned her kids in the car. She was pretty convincing when she was crying in her media interview. Turns out she did it, right? We have so many cases. Chris Watts, I mean, you name it. But there are also
my
cases
God.
where that didn't happen. Okay, so
Yeah.
we can't just say, well, this case happened, so that means the parents are guilty. No, they're not the same case, right? We have to take everything with, a really objective perspective until we hear from law enforcement. Those are the only people right now that have a clue what happened. Not us. Not
Uh,
us.
the thing
You know?
about the thing about Candace not crying. This is 2 weeks out. Okay, let's take if you just turn off everything that you think or we assume or whatever, and you go back to basics. This woman has had 2 kids removed from her by her sister. Her sister is missing not very long after that. That's kind of weird. I'll give you that. But they found zero trace of her sister. It's never been solved, whatever. These people have had law enforcement run ins for decades. Okay? You are not going to be the typical suburban parent when you're dealing with those kind of circumstances when it comes to dealing with law enforcement. Do
Yep.
you trust law enforcement at that point? No, whether you should or not. But I'm saying people that are involved with the law don't trust the law after a while. She's been to prison for domestic violence crap, so she does kind of know. Her sister's missing and has never been found. At 2 weeks, when they're telling you, if what they're saying is we have absolutely zero trace of where this girl has gone, would you not feel completely hopeless?
Yep. And she
What
did
do you
appear to be
assume?
under the influence of possibly a prescribed medication because certainly she's been through some stuff the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But every behavioral expert will tell you there is no hard line on how people approach something like this. You cannot take their reaction and say they didn't cry, they're guilty. Because you have people that did cry that are guilty, and some people just aren't big criers. Don and Candace don't seem to me like really big, emotionally front forward people. They really don't. They seem very
They seem
hold.
hopeless,
They seem
in my
hopeless,
opinion.
tired, defeated. But Don is not a guy who's probably going to cry on camera. He does not strike me as that type. That doesn't mean he did anything. It means he's not a guy who cries in public. You don't know what's going on in their house. You're not in there. So yeah, maybe it's suspicious, and people
I've
talk about
known,
how they talk about the summer in the past tense all the time. If you listen to them, they talk about everything in the past tense. That's more of a dialectal thing than a guilt thing. So we can't assume anything. Just we just can't assume. That's all we're asking people. Don't assume, but question everything.
you know,
You know?
I just, you know, my stepdad adopted me when I was 7. So I've known my stepdad for 32 years, okay? I've seen him cry one time, and that was when I got married. And I was like, never. Now, my dad's been through some crap. I mean, you know, I've seen my dad go through a loss, really bad stuff with my brother, stuff with his grandkids. I mean, he's gone through some crap. He doesn't cry. He
Mhm.
just doesn't. And he doesn't apologize. You ask my mom. I don't think I've ever heard my dad say he's sorry, but it doesn't mean he's a psychopath that
Right.
beats his kids. I just I just don't know. I guess I get like I'm not trying to say that they're innocent. I've said that since day one. I said, in my opinion, I didn't see the red flags in his video
Yep.
outside of the outside of the prayer vigil, and a lot of people keep taking that out of context too. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, he's talking about the resurrection. He's talking about religion." Well, that interview was taken outside of the prayer vigil. So
Right.
if you're already in that mindset, and that's probably all you've been hearing for an hour from everybody that showed up, that's probably what's going to come out of your mouth. I just don't. And they went. How many people have we seen not go to the prayer vigil for their
Yep.
missing kids? Amari Nicholson's mama, she was sitting her happy tail at home up in her OnlyFans account subscription price while they had a prayer vigil for Amari because they hadn't found him yet.
Yeah. I'm going to address Stacy E in chat. Stacy says, and we're in a mood today, Jess, so let's do it. I see where there are barely any subscribers here. All we can do is speculate, right? Nobody knows what has happened. Jesus. Number one, this channel just started, and there are going to be a lot of subscribers here because Jess is freaking phenomenal. So deal with that. Number two, all anyone can do is speculate. That's what we've been saying this whole time. If you've listened to the words coming out of our faces, all we can do is speculate because nobody knows what happened, right? You're the one in here saying that you think the parents are guilty, not us. You're not speculating. That's not speculating. That is putting forth a fact. Now, when you said the second time, well, it seems like there's something not right. That makes sense. And we can all say that, and we agree with it. We think there are some weird things going on here. We don't know what they are. All right. So please, if you can't be nice, this is not the place for you. But yeah, we're all speculating, and just state your speculation as speculation, and everybody will get along just fine. That's all we're asking.
I'm not for everybody. I'm not. I don't expect to ever be some big platform on YouTube. I don't. So that is what it is. But I don't put out videos every day about Summer talking about the latest, this, that, and the other. I only cover when law enforcement has done it because that's the only thing that I know. We talk about it on Hearsay, and it's labeled as hearsay. This is the only time that I speculate in anything. And I haven't even said what I think happened. So I asked y'all what you think. You can disagree with me all day long and stay in the dang chat. You haven't been blocked. You haven't been deleted. Mm-hmm. We're just having a conversation. If you know something I don't know, you can come tell me. You don't agree with me, you're allowed to. I'm just saying, I wish people... I think the parents are free reign, to be quite honest. They both have ridiculous charges in their history. I think that it's completely normal that people suspect the parents. However, I don't think it's fair when they're doing it to the kids. And that's why I talk about it. Because I don't think that's fair to the kids.
And we speculate too. We sit in Discord voice chat a lot during the day, and we have some really big speculation about what we think might have happened. We're just not making it public because you don't do that, But we have a couple of pet theories each that we're waiting to see if any of it pans out. But I don't think it's a good idea to put all that public because people hear a YouTuber speculate and they run with it like it's fact and start posting all over the internet. So, it's dangerous to do that. It is, unfortunately.
I've been talking to James Hutchinson's family since that kid went missing. I've never put that in a video. I've never interviewed them on camera and put out their business. I just don't think it's fair because I don't have the facts in that. Not that I don't believe his family. The people that I talk to, I do believe them. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like I have any business putting out more crap on James Hutchinson's family.
Right.
If it's not going to help the daggone case. It's not going to help anybody find James.
Speaking of James, they haven't found him yet, have they?
No, they have not. They haven't done a search in a little while. They haven't found him or Nyla Lattimore. The 30th of June was James's birthday, and they had a party for him out at the park, and I've been talking to his family, and they sent me the pictures and all that stuff, and I'm going to put a video together and put it on my channel. So that's coming this week. But
that's such a heartbreaking case.
It is. It is. It's not like I'm treating this family any different from anybody else I've talked about. I criticized Amari's mom because she was red flagging all over the place. Mm-hmm. Said the same thing about Caleb Wisnat. I yelled and screamed about it. That looks like domestic violence red flags left, right, and center. And then the behavior panel did it like 2 days later, said the same daggone thing. I'll tell y'all, my opinion ain't worth crap. It's not professional. I've worked with people. I don't have a professional opinion. I'm not a body analyst. I'm not some investigator, private eye, whatever. I'm just telling you what I see because I think it's important to point out things because we as mothers and women have maternal instincts and that kind of thing. And when it's yelling at you, I think that's really important that you listen to it. And if you can see the red flags in other cases, then it helps the chances that you are not in the exact same situation these people are in.
Right. Yep. And one thing that Desh and I talk about a lot are red flags. You know, when you learn what the red flags really are and you learn to pay attention to them, you can avoid a lot of things. So that's one reason we talk about all this stuff, is because there are so many red flags all over these cases. The Wisnand case, watching that interview with those parents, now that was red flag city. That,
Yep.
and we call it when we see it. You know, Jess, you did your video about Caleb Wisnan and his wife. I think they're married, and talked about all the horrific red flags of just watching them standing there talking at the microphones in front of the police station. And you nailed, I don't know, about 20 of them. And then the behavior panel did their assessment of that interview like a week later, and they said everything that you got. And I was like, well, there you go. Right. But you picked up on that from experience, from being in a relationship with a toxic partner. And you're like, oh, I know what that means. Oh. And you could pick up on it right away, especially if you've experienced something like that. So learning those red flags is a huge help for anyone who feels like the world is a scary place right now, because it is, unfortunately.
Right now, it's a nightmare. This year being locked down with the pandemic has hurt families unimaginably. I mean, I read that one article, and I want to say it came out of Chicago, that I flew off the handle. I texted you, I'm like, look at this BS. They had put out an article about, oh, Chicago's not like the rest of the world are, and I think it was Chicago. I'd have to look at it, but it was the reported cases of child abuse have gone way down this year. And I'm like, you are freaking nuts. Of course it's gone way down. Nobody's in front of mandated reporters. Child abuse has skyrocketed, along with domestic violence, suicide, drug overdoses, alcohol dependency. All of it is ridiculous. You can't look at that number. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, you know?
Yep.
It just doesn't. And I'm not, I don't know. I guess I wish people understood, and maybe, you know, I don't know if I just don't say it right, but before I made this channel, I had another channel, and all it was about life lessons, parenting and relationships, and self-help. I mean, not that I'm that person, but, you know, it's what can you learn about this? I cover cases about kids who don't get a voice, whose lives are snuffed out way too early, and a lot of them don't make the news. They don't get the same treatment as some of the other kids that you hear about going missing. Summer Wells is a big deal right now, but do you know how many kids have gone missing since Summer has and haven't been aired?
Wasn't it 250 just from East Tennessee?
Yeah.
In the last 2 weeks.
So, you know, I complained about CPS, for crying out loud. I complained when these kids ended up dead and CPS was involved and they didn't act. And that makes me mad because I want people to be held responsible. But I can't do that for everybody. So I use the platform that I have to tell people, don't fall for this BS. If you see this, run. Don't be the next victim. Don't let your kid be the next victim. And God forbid, don't let your kid become the next perpetrator either. Because there are flags there too, you know?
And there's a lot of other stuff going on right now in the world. These mass shootings that are happening almost every day somewhere in the country, sometimes more than one. I send my husband out to Walmart to get some groceries, and I'm like, oh, please come back. Please don't get shot. It's like, who thinks that when you're sending someone to Walmart for some snacks? You know, but nowadays you think that, and that's terrifying. So people are scared, they're edgy, they're stressed. All the financial burdens that the pandemic has brought upon everyone is making families really stressed. And there's so much going on in the world that you have to be on high alert. And that itself adds more stress to it, you know? So
my son's going to Texas for 2 weeks. And I've had, I don't know how many conversations with him about his name. Put your head on a swivel. If you walk into a place and you think somebody's acting shady, get out. I don't care what you paid, because he's going to this comic, whatever. It's not Comic-Con, it's called something else. I said, if anybody is acting weird, get out of there, because I don't want to be wondering if you got caught up in something on the news.
Yeah, but look what else we've done with that.
You know?
Your son is coming to Texas. He's of age now to travel on his own. But what have we done in the background? You and I have a plan. We have a rescue line ready for him if he needs me, because I'm in Texas. I am straight there. My husband has his work on alert. Between these dates, we may need to run and go get this kid. and bring him home and get him back to you. So you've set up this network around his trip to Texas because the world is just a creepy place right now, and you need to have those safeguards in place. So, yeah, we're all on edge. We are all on edge right
He's
now.
going, and I said, you don't have to explain anything. All you have to do is text and say,
Come
I need
get
to
me.
come.
Yep.
And there won't be any questions asked. She'll
Mhm.
get you home.
Yep. I'll bring him here. We'll go swimming, have some barbecue, get him on a plane, get him home.
You want to be the mom, and I'm telling you this. You want to be the mom that says, I've got to call my mom, not the one your kid automatically thinks, oh my God, my mom's going to kill me.
Right. Yep.
And that's why I talk about what I talk about on this channel and the other channel.
And be that mom to every child you see, not just your own.
Yep.
And
that's what we've talked about here, even talking about Summer and some of these other cases. I've said the problem isn't going to be solved by CPS. It's going to be fixed if we as a community start rallying around a lot of these single moms, small families that are overwhelmed. What can you do? Can you mentor? Do you see a problem? Is it something that you can help fix without reporting it to CPS and just going, I'm done. I did what I was supposed to do.
Like okie dokie.
Don't be afraid to ask. It's not my kid. I don't want to be involved. That kind of thing, because that's not going to make anything any better.
Yep. Okie dokie has a comment in chat. Okie says, so I was investigated by CPS but cleared. I'm glad nobody looks at that and judges me automatically. Okie dokie, that's happened to Jess and I.
Amen.
We've been through it. My son is autistic and he has a lot of gastrointestinal issues, one of which is he doesn't know when to stop eating. He doesn't recognize when he's full. And so we'd order a pizza and he'd keep eating the pizza, but he knew he shouldn't have had that much. So he would hide the pizza crust like down in the couch cushions. And I was finding this and be like, what on earth is going on? So I went to his teacher, like, help, I don't know what this behavior is. What's going on? And she thought, oh, you must be withholding food from your child. Now, my son is quite a chunk. I was not withholding food from him. It was pretty obvious. And so CPS came over and they're like, what is going on? I'm like, yeah, this is his issue. This is the autism, da 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 da. And they're like, well, that's silly. They look through my kitchen like, oh, yeah, there's plenty of food here. Maybe too much food, and offered a nutritionist to help with my son's weight issue and stuff. But clearly there was nothing wrong, other than we didn't know that he didn't recognize when he should stop eating, right? So we dealt with that medically through his doctor, and he's fine. But yeah, sometimes you have to deal with CPS, and it's complete baloney, but hopefully you'll get someone who's reasonable and will understand the situation. So no, we're not going to think badly of you about that. Jess, you've been through a CPS issue, haven't you?
Yep.
And it's not fun?
Yep. Nope. It is not. It was like they had to come to my house. I had a good narcissist. I've had a couple that decided to call when I cut off contact. And they decided to call and say, well, we know that there's a lot of alcohol in the house. There's a lot of loaded guns in the house. She is on a lot of prescription medication and she's selling it. And the kids don't go to school. You're right in the fact that my kids didn't go to school. I homeschooled them laying in the bed, half dead, because my immune system couldn't take them going to public school. There was not loaded guns and alcohol and all that crap in my house. So they asked about medicine. I went and got my medicine bag. And she said, well, where's the pain medicine? I said, I'm not on pain medicine. Well, where do you get your prescriptions filled? I said, we're military. Everything is shipped in the mail. I can't go doctor shop. I have to be okay to go to the doctor, and they send me my medication. And he was like, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she saw me pull in at 7 o'clock in the morning. She was like, where have you been? Because I was dressed nice. I'm like, I work at the domestic violence shelter. It was my night. The phone went off. Can you turn that off? And I said, no, it's the hotline for the domestic violence shelter. It's my day. And she was like, you really do work at the domestic violence shelter? And I said, yeah.
Yeah.
I do. Do you know blah, 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 which was my mom? And she's like, oh, yeah, I know her. And I'm like, that's what we're dealing with here, people.
Yep.
You can't just go on people's past. I love you, Mom. My mom has an arrest record, which is the funniest thing I ever learned in my life, if you know my mom. She went to a Christian college. Shout out to anybody who lives in Kentucky that's ever heard of Berea College. I was born there. Mom was driving the van to some kind of business meeting for the future business whatevers of America were doing. The odometer was broken in the van and she got pulled over. And in Kentucky, if you're pulled over for speeding, it doesn't matter how much it is, they can arrest you immediately. And they did.
Oh no.
So my mom had to call the dean of the college at like 10:30 at night and introduce herself because he personally had to come bail her out and pick up the van because he was the dean of the college. And I, to this day, am still in contact with him. When Mom had me, we moved in with the dean so that Mom could finish up her last two classes before graduation because I had colic and it was god awful. But I mean, that's it. My mom got arrested for speeding in Kentucky in a Christian college van. Doesn't mean she should be investigated by CPS.
Yep.
You know what I
But
mean?
a lot of people in chat are telling their stories about people that have called CPS maliciously on them.
Yeah,
And that
it's a
happens
thing.
all the time. They do have to follow up on these tips. They have to, because what
Yeah.
if it's true? But understand that if somebody did make a false and malicious claim, knowingly false, you can file charges against them for that.
Yeah.
You really can. So don't make fake calls to CPS on people because that's terrible. If you have a genuine concern, okay, that's different. But you know, it's going to happen at some point in most people's lives because you have an ex. Just you and I both have malignant narcissist type exes who love to do stuff like that. I had a narcissist ex mother-in-law who did some crazy stuff. She actually tried to get a restraining order on me for doing black magic to give her a heart attack and kill her on the highway. And
Boy,
the
that's
judge,
some Julie Rowe crap right there.
it is. And, you know, I had to go to court and the judge was like, really? I was like, really? If I could do that, would we be sitting here? And we all laughed and I went home and that was the end of it, you know, but people do stuff like that. They really do.
But I would go through that.
Awful.
I would go through a fake CPS investigation 50 times
Yep.
to be able to turn them around and say, okay, why aren't you fixing this mess?
Right.
I mean, how many cases are there where they get called and called and called and called and called and the kids stay there until they're dead? And then it's like, oops. And then you don't hear anything. They didn't lose their job. You know, nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm sick. Like, I'm sick to death of doing these cases. I know that sounds stupid. I love my channel. I love what I do. Since I've started just this channel, since March. I think my first video was March 25th. I can't keep up with the kid cases. So I don't cover anything except kid cases. And I've even had to narrow that down to kid cases that CPS has been involved in. And I still can't keep up with it.
Yep.
Making a video a day, I can't keep up with it. It's a problem. It's a problem.
And it is weird that there are so many of them now. It started maybe February of 2020 or even 2019 when we started hearing. Remember the first case that we heard that year was the boy that got stuck in the chimney. And they thought I can't even think about that case. That brings me right to tears.
People gave his parents hell too.
Yep. And that was right before Gannon Stout went missing. And from then on, it seemed like endless daily cases of child missing or murdered or something. And man, it gets you down. It really does. But in a lot of these cases, CPS was involved and these children were left in the homes and then turned up dead. And when you feel like I had to deal with CPS over pizza crust, but this kid who's been starved and weighs 40 pounds at 10 years old is sitting there in feces and they leave him in the home? Come on, man.
If y'all knew my niece's story, that's why I do this dang channel, because we're lucky she lived, to be quite honest. And that did not get handled the way that it should have been, and it still hasn't. So, and just to prove the fact that I don't think I know everything, I've seen the Sam Olsen case. I know stepmom shady as all get out. Like I could tell. I personally can't get a read on the dad. I can't. I don't feel like I have enough information on dad to watch him and say if that's BS or not.
Right.
I know that the behavior panel does it, but they're professionals. But like when I put stuff out, I generally believe it. I don't put out crap that I don't think that I see. So, I don't cover all of it. Cash Garland is another one. People have given Monica, the lady who kept him, absolute grief people on YouTube sent stalkers and everything else, like just harassed her. That woman is a victim too. And you know what
Mhm.
she got? She got her kids taken away from her.
Yep.
When they came to investigate Cash, her house was not in the best shape, and they took her minor kids from her. And I think that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare to me. That's a nightmare.
Yep.
Now, I don't know what else is in, I know she had children removed from her custody a long time ago, and she admits it. A lot of these people, like Dawn and Monica and Candace at this point, are pretty open about what shady crap is in their past. So I don't understand, when they're admitting to bad things that they did, I think that's pretty open. They're not
Yep.
excused in a way. But, I know some stuff went on with Monica. She had a drug problem and she said so.
Yep.
I don't know all the circumstances of why they removed her two teenage minor children, but I
And
feel like,
certainly with the pandemic, it's been a lot worse. Not even with child protective services, adult protective services as well.
yeah,
My
that's
cousin was in a really bad place. He was 60 years old. His caregiver had died and he was on his own. And I called adult protective services because somebody in that state needed to look in on him and make sure he was okay. They didn't do a home visit because of the pandemic, right? And so they just took his word on the phone that he was fine. I'm like, you can't trust his word. He's not mentally competent. Please go check on him. And they didn't. They refused because of the pandemic. He's dead now. Thanks.
died. Yeah.
And so you think that's not happening with CPS as well? And that terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me.
You know what's happening? The West Boys gave me a wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there's got to be a decent timeline because I thought I knew CPS well enough to know they have to lay eyes on the kids once a month, and there were foster kids still in that house.
Right.
I thought, well, they had to have seen these kids can't have been missing for 3 months. That's when I found out that CPS quit doing house visits because of the pandemic, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yep.
And then it made me look at that case a whole nother way. And in my opinion, I don't think the West Boys were ever in that house.
Yep.
I don't think they made it to that
But
house.
because CPS wasn't doing the home visits, we don't know. And it's
And that's another one. Those parents are sketchy as all get out. That happened before I did my channel. So I
right.
didn't make a video on the red flags on their plea interview. But that's a terrible interview. But you know what? They removed the rest of the kids out of that house.
They did, and they must have had a reason for doing so. So,
So I don't know. I just don't know. I could be completely wrong on Summer Wells. I could be completely wrong. But what I do know is I'm sick of all the craziness that has nothing to do with finding her. And don't drag the kids through the mud. Y'all want to pick on the adults 24/7. How about it?
yeah.
But the kids don't deserve it. And it will do a lot of damage that can't be undone.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So did you want to talk about the new laws before we go today? There's a bunch of new laws that happen.
Yeah. Tennessee, because this is where I live, let me open it, has some new laws on the book as of July 1st. Where did it go? The first one is Evelyn's Law, after Evelyn Boswell. So for anybody that says nothing good ever comes out of these things, we have this. Evelyn's Law now requires parents to report, under the age of 14, they must report a child missing within 24 hours or they're charged, which is sad that we live in a world that has to be a thing. But
right.
It is now because of Evelyn.
Yep.
And y'all need to remember, Evelyn went missing out of the same county, the county next to where Summer is.
Yeah.
Right. Rogersville is, not Clark County. I've got Las Vegas on the line. Hawkins County. Kingsport, where a lot of the things are going on, is Sullivan County. And Sullivan County is where Evelyn Boswell went missing. So there's one that came out of that. Eli's Law is another one, and I forget the name of who it's named after. But that one is parents are required to report to the court if they have a baby and any of their other children have been taken from them. Usually, when they go in Tennessee and have a hospital birth, things get run through, and you will usually flag them, and the social worker is called, and usually they'll keep the baby right there at the hospital and place it. Well, they don't do that when you have a home birth, birth center birth, any of that kind of stuff. So this requires you to report that. Will they do it? Not a clue. Will they be held accountable for not doing it? Absolutely. And so that's a step in the right direction.
Yep.
That's
and I have one.
Yep.
Out of Connecticut, Jennifer Doulos. We covered that case extensively. Jennifer's Law was passed last month. And what this does is not really about a child case per se, but it broadens the definition of domestic violence that's typically based on physical violence or the threat of physical violence. And it changes it. So this also includes coercive control, which is huge. This is a step towards getting stuff like the toxic relationships we talk about and narcissism on the books as abuse, so it can be reported. I thought that was such a great law. I'm excited to see that this happening in the UK a little bit now. So coercive control is becoming more widely known and understood as abuse. And to me, that is the best thing. I am so excited to see that. So yeah, I hope that expands a little bit more across the country.
And that's what we want to see. Okay, we got Evelyn's Law. Another one. I'll just say a flag. Child rape sentencing. Okay. Under the legislation, someone who was convicted of the facilitation of rape of a child or aggravated rape of a child will be required to serve. I'm legally blind, so that's why I'm squinting, guys. 100% of the sentence imposed minus a 15% credit. The individual will also be required to have community supervision for life. I hate that we live in a world where that has to be a thing, but it's about dang time they have to serve the whole sentence. Because sentencing laws in this country are ridiculous,
Yep.
I mean, just look at in the Vallow case, when they were finally read charges to good old Spud Muffin Chad. They read his charges to him, and as they read the charges, they said what his maximum thing could be, minimum and maximum sentence could be for each one of those things. And they read off second-degree murder. And then they read off fraud, because they have committed fraud with money involving the government. The minimum was higher for the fraud charge than was the
murder charge. Yep.
There's something wrong there, people.
I agree.
Something wrong.
Yeah, and a lot of it is because it's state by state. We don't have a federalization of sentence standards and stuff. So, there's that. And Blonde people just join us in Discord. Awesome. If you don't know how to navigate it, I will drop another link to the how to use Discord video that I made. I'll drop it in the welcome channel so you can find it. And hopefully that'll get you going. But yeah, welcome to Discord.
There was another one. Yeah. Another one is the adoption health check. This one was a big one too. The law requires adoptive parents who receive subsidies. So that's if you're adopting foster kids out of the system that are considered special needs or whatever, to provide the Department of Child Services with medical and school records in order to get a health check. Guardians who fail to provide the records will be prompted to have a face-to-face interview with the Department of Protective Services. That's a big deal. The reason that's a big deal, because right here in my backyard in Knoxville this past summer, I haven't done a video on this, and I will, because it's not moving right now, but there was a man and a woman who had been taking kids out of the foster system for decades, and they adopted some of them and were continuing to get like $6,000 a month because the kids were considered special needs. Well, one of those boys escaped from the house naked, ran down the road, and happened to come across a police officer driving by. That's how you believe in God, is that right there? The cop picked him up and said, "Where did you come from?" He didn't listen to the parents' BS, checked the house, found kids in cages. This little boy was kept in a dog cage in the basement, and he was not the only one. So they dug up the yard and they found two bodies of children in the yard. They've been getting checks for these kids for 3 years.
But
And
that wasn't the only yard, right?
no. So then they look at the records and go, oh, these people moved. So they went to that house. Well, they sold that house to their biological son. They dug up that house. They found a body in the backyard of that house.
Oh my God.
So son, mom, and dad have all been charged in 2 counties because of where the houses were. And they're looking at the death penalty real hard. They've already said that it's going to be a death penalty case. I take that back. But is that not ridiculous? If CPS can write you a check, you're telling me they can't come check on a kid?
My goodness.
Require a pediatrician to say, yep, they're coming regularly. A school to say, yep, they're attending regularly, everything's fine. If you want to say they are overworked, underpaid, whatever you want to say, there are still things that can be done. If you can't, schedule a face-to-face check-in with the family once a month or whatever, but in 3 years.
Do you know the name of that case? People in chat are asking.
The last name is Gray. Hold on, I still got it open. That's how pissed about it makes me because I'm always watching. Their last name is Gray. Let's see. Michael Gray Sr., Michael Gray Jr., and is her name Candace? Shirley Gray, Gray. And that's out of Knox County. That's a nightmare case. 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
There's an interesting question in chat that I think it would be fun to dig into since we're in a mood today.
No.
All right, Jessica Moon asks, can we talk about all the rumors and whatnot spawned by the YouTube psychics that people are taking as facts? I love this topic.
I have zero experience with psychics. Like, not my thing. Okay, I take that back. I did go to a psychic one time. My ex-husband convinced me that would be a good idea for one anniversary to go to some psychic person, and we went and she did the whole palm reading thing, and she said that we were going to have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and he should be an accountant. And I did all I could do not to laugh because I had 3 boys. And that man couldn't. He does that new Common Core math where 2 + 3 = purple. Not an accountant. But we were going to have a long and happy marriage, and it's like didn't last another 18 months. So that's my only experience with it. Do I think they should make YouTube videos? If that's what they want to do, absolutely. Do I find them credible? No. Do I think what they can do is dangerous if they are contacting the family of victims? Absolutely, because I think they're taking advantage of people that are going through grief. I'll even criticize my local news this week since they got 0 out of law enforcement. They didn't have anything else to run. Just to keep talking about summer, they interviewed some psychic here on YouTube.
Yep, they did.
Don't put that crap on the news. Hell, they even drug out the parents' background. Oh, well, did you know that 30 years ago, Don Wells was arrested and did time in Utah? I mean, what's that got to do with summer?
Yep.
So,
one thing.
What do you want to say about it? I know you got something.
All right. About the psychics thing. I don't consider myself a psychic. I do tarot readings, and I've always done them for, I don't know, since I was a teenager. It's a thing. I love to do it. Not in a bajillion years would there be enough money on this planet for me to do a reading about a missing child and put it out in public. That's insanity to me. That is insane. I think anyone who genuinely is a psychic or genuinely, does this stuff that helps law enforcement doesn't put out in public ever. And I was scrolling Twitter the other day looking at the Summer Wells topic, and I saw a tweet that said, Summer Wells found, mom was arrested. And I'm like, oh my God, right? So I clicked it as fast as I could. It's a psychic with crayon pictures talking about, she thinks this is what's going to happen.
Picture.
Oh, I was
linked that
so
to
mad. I was so mad. I was
and I said,
infuriated.
look how many thousand views are on that. And she was like, what is that? And I said, I don't know. It looks like somebody handed a dang 2-year-old a marker and said, have at it.
Yep.
I said, and then I put out a video about the actual press conference.
Mhm.
It's like we're in the wrong business, When
Yep.
I
Yep.
say we chuck it all out the window and we start doing automatic writing and we'll just
Mhm. Yep.
Now, I'm not discounting. I think that there are people with psychic abilities. I do. I think maternal instinct and women's instinct, I think that's a piece of it. I think there are probably some people that are better at it than others.
Yeah.
I'm sure there have been cases solved by psychics, but I would say the people asking for all kinds of donations on YouTube every time something pops up and they act like they have no information, but they start word for word copying what was in the news report or whatever. I ain't buying it. Look at Sylvia Brown. That one was such a grifter.
Yes.
They had
She
what's the
told the
guy?
mother
Yeah,
of
make her
that
say
girl.
this.
Remember the girls that were arrested? Was it Chicago? They were kidnapped by that guy in Chicago, and he kept them in his house for a long time. She went on TV and told the mother, "Your child is dead.
Dude.
You need to grieve for her." And that girl turned up alive after the mother had passed away. That mother passed away thinking her daughter was dead thanks to this psychic. That is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And man, the YouTube just plays into that, and I don't understand it. I don't. I really
I
don't.
used to watch. I always get his name and the politician's name switched around. You know who I'm talking about? Jonathan Edwards. Is it Jonathan Edward or Jonathan Edwards?
I don't know.
One of them is the creepy politician. The other one is a medium. I think that's what you
Okay.
classify as. He had a TV show. And a lot of times it was an audience full of family who want to hear from people who have passed on. What was it called? The Other Side? Passed. So I don't remember. This was way back when. But, and I liked it back then. Shoot, I fell for a whole lot of stuff way back when. And I'm not saying it's not legit. I have no idea. But the producers of that show, one day, not long after September 11th, filled the entire audience with September 11th family
Oh
survivors.
no.
And they didn't tell him.
Oh no.
And he came in and he said, what is this? So I tend to kind of believe maybe he did pick up that he's legit in a way, because he said, I have never been in such a room that felt so heavy and dark and just, this is not the environment I want to work in. And they wouldn't tell him what the show was, because that's part of the way he worked. He didn't know who was in the audience.
See, I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
know if it is or not, but they said that he walked out, and when people started coming through, apparently he says they stopped filming the show. I don't know if they did or not, but do these people have ability? I have no idea. But when they start contacting family members, and they do, family members of these true crime cases, and start saying, this is where you need to look, that is not helpful. You are preying on victims at that point.
Yep.
You want to put it out on your YouTube channel by your lonesome with your subscribers. You even want to call it into law enforcement. Have at it if that's your thing.
Oh, thank you, Angie.
Family members.
Angie Wilson says it was Amanda Berry's mom. That's right. It was on Montelli Williams where Sylvia Brown did that.
Grifter.
That was awful.
Yeah. There was a couple of them. Oh yeah, they're dead. They're going to find her in water. Yep, dead.
Mm-hmm.
Dead. They weren't. You need to look at this guy. And then the victim's family said a name and said, yep, that's him. He did it. Yep. And then, you can ruin somebody's life that way, because nobody goes back and apologizes.
No, they don't.
We've seen crazy in the Vallow case. I mean, you name it, we see it. If you believe in that stuff, if that's what you want to watch, I don't have a problem with it. You got the right to do whatever you want to. They have the right to put out whatever they want to. I think it's
Well,
despicable when they prey on people.
we've seen it with Julie Rowe herself. She came out on,
Oh,
was it on TV? She said, I know the kids are safe. I see them on a beach somewhere. They're fine. They're safe. And then when it turned out, obviously that wasn't true, she just spun it and said, well, I didn't know that I was seeing spirit realm. Gosh, how was I supposed to know? It's like, if you're calling yourself a psychic and you're having these visions, you darn well better know. You
then
darn well
shut
better.
up.
All right. If you
Yeah.
don't know for sure, then shut your mouth. My God. Oh, it drives me nuts.
That's just not my thing. You know, I don't even like dealing in the YouTube groups. I mean, so psychics are way out of my comfort zone. I don't even like to deal with people's rumors on Facebook. I like to see, get documents. What is law enforcement actually released? So I think it's easier to do that.
Yep.
In my opinion,
Mhm.
because you don't have to apologize to people if you deal with what is out, like in a document.
Yep. And tarot readings are great. I love doing them. I think I'm pretty good at it. I've done some for a lot of people here, and I enjoy it. And it's something that I think of not as a gift, but something I've really practiced at. But at the same time, I do not do fortune telling. I'm not going to sit here and do a reading on this case or any other case, and certainly never make it public, because there's a level of responsibility that you should take with something like that. And putting out, I did a reading and I think Summer's buried here under this and by that, and this person did it. That's crazy. You can't do that. You can't, I mean, there's such a thing called defamation. You cannot go out and state something as a fact that's not true. You can get in a lot of trouble for that too. Not to mention what it can do to the family. Imagine the family who's a genuine family that y'all like. Forget the Wells case, because I know a lot of people don't like
The
the parents.
Morphew case had it.
All right. Imagine a case where you really like the family and you really think the person is genuinely missing, and you put out this tarot reading that you think the person they're missing is dead and buried here and there. What is that going to do to the family? My goodness, think for a minute before you start saying stuff like that. You have to understand the people in these cases are real people that are dealing with some of the most traumatic moments of their lives. You don't need to pile on and add to it. You really don't. If you think you have a genuine psychic lead on something, call law enforcement. Let them sort it out. Do not make it public and put that on the family. That's not cool.
I know, like
That's
the
what I think of
Morphew
that.
case, whenever her brother came out to do the search with Profile and Evil and the Interview Room guys, I love that channel. Channels, now that they're two separate things. There were psychics that called in, and they went and checked those tips too, because I think Suzanne's brother was absolutely desperate to find her. I think he would have looked anywhere, and I think he did. They followed up on all of them. Didn't turn out anything that I'm aware of, but
Yeah.
to each their own. I don't know. Do I think that Dawn is going to end up on Dr. Phil? Yes, I do. I think the Wells, I would imagine Dr. Phil will come to them, to be quite honest. It would
Yeah.
not surprise me a bit to see
I'm
Dr.
thinking
Phil
in
out
a couple
front yard.
months. In a couple months, if there's no news,
There's
then he
nothing.
probably will.
I think he
Yep.
will.
Yep. Which will be interesting, because Dr. Phil is very well versed in body language and all of this stuff. He's been on with the behavior panel. He's a very good interviewer,
Mhm.
and so I think if he does have them on, that would be something I would definitely watch.
I
Just to
hope
look
that
at
he
questions.
does. I hope that he does, because the families that he gets in contact with, he gives them resources. And I think there are a lot of things that could benefit this family just by him going and meeting them. I think he'll offer resources, therapy, counseling, whatever, um, for those kids. I think he'll offer some things for the parents. And you just never know. It might really turn that family around.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, I hope that he offers them an interview, and I hope that they take it,
Yeah.
even for that alone. Whether he thinks they're guilty is homemade sin, and puts that out, as long as somebody gets some resources to those
Yep.
kids, I think would be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But that's all the news I got this week. Jess, you got anything else?
I'm working on a case for tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to put this out there because I can't find it. And if any of you all can find it, and we've already had this discussion. If you can find me a court document or a news article or something that says this, send it to my email. It's mistrial21@gmail. I've heard from a credible person that James Hutchinson's mom and boyfriend confessed and are not going to trial. They're awaiting sentencing. I can't imagine that has happened and the internet not blown up.
Right.
So if y'all can find something that says that, send it my way. If not, I'm gonna assume they're still going to trial in September.
Right. Well, maybe time to actually go to the court and see what we can find.
I can't find it. I can't find anything. So if somebody else has a way or has seen it anywhere else, y'all let me know. There's a case brewing down in Atlanta.
Oh, this case.
I'll do a video on that tomorrow. They found a toddler in the Chattahoochee River. Yes, that's a real thing. The Chattahoochee River. If y'all are, what's his name? Alan Jackson fans, you know that word. They pulled the body of a toddler, and the news article said they could not even tell if it was a boy or girl. Well, they've arrested a woman. Go ahead.
They said at first they said it was a girl.
Right. They released a sketch of the girl.
Right, but in the news article it says it's a boy. Now they did arrest someone, Brianna. Let me put it on the screen so you can share that if you want to share that.
But they haven't said what her connection is to the child, and they haven't named the child. So it's kind of like little Liam Hughes said. Like, I don't think this child has been reported missing.
Yeah. Yep. That's her arrest affidavit thing. But they don't know. I mean, is this the child's mother? That's what we would assume. But they're still investigating that. Like, they don't know.
They don't know who this is.
You know, what is her relationship to this child? It's like, what is going on here? So that's a really weird case. Remember, you told me about it the other day, and I've been watching it like, what? This doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
So that's her arrest affidavit.
Yep. Do y'all want to talk about Amari? If y'all are done, you can tell me you're done. I told Awen, this is not going to be some hour and a half stream. I don't feel good.
Yeah, here we are.
An hour and 45 minutes. Y'all want to talk about Amari Nicholson and what's kicked off?
Well, didn't Taylor get arrested?
Taylor got arrested.
In connection with the case or something else?
No. Taylor got picked up on 3 counts of prostitution and possession of a weapon.
Oh, God.
I figured Taylor would get picked up in some kind of weird connection to the case. I've said that the whole time. I don't know if she's involved in the crime per se. I do think she was involved in the story that was released. I think she's the only one out of the 2 of them that had that much information to go on, and it wasn't a legit story. It bothers me that she told people on social media not to go on a search in a specific place because there's no way he's there, and that's where he was found. That's fishy to me. It's fishy that she didn't go to the prayer vigil and was sitting at home doubling the price on her OnlyFans account. Was this a way for police to pick her up and have a reason to really in-depth question her where she either has to answer or lawyer up? Maybe. I ain't got a clue.
Yeah.
There's something weird going on there.
That OnlyFans account thing was weird. She upped her rates to join it, and she was live on OnlyFans during one of the candlelight vigils, and just gross. I'm sorry, that's gross.
The thing, she ran Amari's biological dad's family through the ringer.
And that's tying that back to the Wells case. So I'm talking about motivation. Her motivation was to make Amari's dad's, was that his real dad? I think. Who knows?
It was his biological dad that she was talking about.
To make them look as bad as possible. Okay.
And so she never talked about Amari in that interview. She never talked about Amari.
Yep. Angie, the Vallow Daybell case, I covered that over on my channel with Jess, and we've talked about that over there. We did a long live stream the other day with the new documents. You can go see that, or if you have any questions, go ahead and ask us right now, since we're right here.
Boy, that was something, wasn't it? We were live for a hearing that got canceled, and then all the documents dropped. And I was like, well, we're the only ones talking about this right now because
Yep.
we were live at the time.
Yep. We went live for there was supposed to be a status conference hearing for Lori's case, which was going to be interesting considering there's a stay in the case. But that got canceled for nothing to do with the case, just outside influences that had to be canceled. But while we were talking live and verifying that, Justin Lum dropped this document out of Arizona, the probable cause summary from law enforcement about why they charged Lori with conspiracy. And boy, there were some bombshells in that document.
Yeah, they were.
My goodness.
It made me so mad. I hadn't been that mad about something in a while. That made me mad to read that.
Yep. I wish that I had not been live and I could have read it and digested it first instead of going with my initial reaction, which was like, what the hell is this? I was screaming. I was really pissed off reading that document. But, there you go.
But
news happens when it happens.
Kresha was in the chat, and you did ask Kresha, is it okay if we read this?
Yeah.
Because we didn't want her to hear it on the internet first. Like if she wanted to go just say no, we would have stopped. But Kresha wanted it read, so.
Yeah, most of the redacted names were obvious as to who they were. There's a couple where they could have been this or that. Annie Cushing has given her interpretation of what the redactions are. I agree with her on 99% of them. There's one or two that I think are not exactly correct, but we won't know until we ever get the unredacted document. But we know all of the main people named in that document, and it's like, wow, there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people who knew what was happening to Charles, and none of them stopped it, and that flipped me out. Flipped me out. Angie says, I have one question about the Summer Wells case, but I don't want to put a theory out there that might be negative. Can my question be? Just ask it.
Just don't say, I know they are guilty of homemade sin and are sacrificing puppies for breakfast. I don't care to talk about people's theories. I'll give you my opinion if you want it. I don't care if people disagree with me. I genuinely don't. That's why me and Awen get along so well. When we first met, we fought like cats and dogs. It was oil and vinegar. There are so many things that we don't look at the same way. But the two of us are mature enough, I'm trying to find a word for it, that we don't feel the need to convince the other person that they have to agree with us.
Right.
I am perfectly fine arguing about the death penalty, and if you don't like it, it's just like, well, if we get put on a jury, they're probably not going to get it because we're not going to agree.
Yep.
But do that. We're not going to learn anything by being polar opposite and not willing to sit down at a table and talk about something. That's all that I ask. If you come here, and even if you're convinced of something that I don't agree with, as long as you're willing to talk about it and say, okay, well, maybe that doesn't make sense, you can correct me. I don't care. As long as you're willing to have a conversation about it and not, huff and puff and slam the door on the way out.
Right. So the question, there's two questions in chat. I'll give you the Summer Wells one first. About her hair. She says, I think it was just a simple possible case of head lice. That's it. I've seen it before with young kids and mom to match like me. Do you want to talk about Summer's haircut?
There are two different things going on there. According to the friend last night, it wasn't a lice thing. When they asked the parents, I believe Summer's hair has been shaved twice. I think the boys got their head shaved, and then Summer was like, well, I'm going to do that too, because they said she hated to have her hair brushed. And you can probably tell that from some of the pictures. That girl could have used a wet brush and some detangler. And that she went with a pair of scissors and cut it, and then they had to shave it to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom has said two different ways. I shaved my head so she wouldn't feel bad. And she's also said I shaved my head and she was a tomboy, so she wanted her head shaved. Right. In my opinion, that statement, I don't think Candace wanted to trash Summer.
Right.
Nothing she has said has been negative about Summer. And a lot of times that's a red flag when parents are disparaging about a victim. You see that in the Anthony Todd case. He complains about his kids didn't want to eat what's for dinner that night, and then he killed them the same night. That's ridiculous. Yep. In my opinion, I think there were many times she could have said, that girl was hell on wheels. I think we've all seen enough video of Summer to realize She's a
She was a
tomboy.
handful. She was a
She's
handful.
active. She probably has an opinion. But I think they didn't want to put out the story like, yeah, she cut her own hair and it was a nightmare, so then we had to shave it. And they didn't put out the life story either, which would also be disparaging to Summer. So in
Yeah.
my opinion, that's what that's about.
Yep. I think that's
But
a nothing burger, really. But
yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with Summer's disappearance.
yeah. Now,
I
the
don't
next
know.
question, Molly Graves says she tuned in now to get Awen's take on the document. So my take on the Arizona document is pretty much, it's worse than I thought it was going to be, as far as
Yeah.
how many more people were involved than I thought were going to be involved in that. I was shocked by that. It names a lot of names. It talks about Melanie Gibb. It talks about Zulema. It talks about Zulema's direct involvement in the planning of Charles's murder, which was very surprising to me. It mentions Julie Rose. Well, not Roe. It says Julie, but how many other Julies are there in this case? That was fascinating to me. Talks a lot about Janice and Summer and the Cox family and what they were doing to try to help Lori avoid the intervention that Charles wanted to have. Because remember, Charles loved that woman like crazy, and he wanted to help her. He tried so hard to help her, and he wanted to do an intervention. And Lori's family got wind of it, and they tried to block that to make sure that didn't happen. And that was Summer and Janice, and Adam was working with Charles to try and do it. And Summer and Janice were working against them. And poor Zach's in the middle of all this mess. It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking to read how many people knew something really big was going on with Charles. Some of them knew there was a plan to kill him, and they let it happen. It made me crazy.
The one thing I will tell you that's maybe not out completely in documents, don't come tell me that Melanie Gibb is poor sweet Melanie is brainwashed, and we are so lucky she came forward. Don't even. I can't even with that woman. Can't even.
Yep.
Oh, I think they just tried to pray the zombie away. Really? This document says you were involved. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's bad. It's a very bad document for everyone named in it. It makes none of them look good at all.
It makes me so mad because there were so many things that Charles did to get this turned around. He did everything he was supposed to do, and this still happened. And now that you see the evidence was all there, it's like these kids did not, and even him, these people didn't have to die. That's so aggravating. It's to see the amount of evidence from Arizona right now is so aggravating. When he begged them to lock her up to get 5150 to take the kids. I mean, he called the church, he called her family, he called the police, he called CPS, he called the hospital. What else could he have done besides kidnap them dang kids himself?
Yeah.
And they'd have given them back. We know that. They would have chased him down and given them back, in my opinion, if that had happened.
Yep.
It's just so aggravating to see that you do all the right things and this still happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it made me very sad.
Yeah.
After the anger went away, I was just filled with the sadness because so many people. I mean, it wasn't just Lori and Chad and Alex. There were many other people who knew it was happening. And it breaks your heart when you see it in black and white like that. It's just Charles didn't have a chance. He did not have a chance.
That woman knew he was laying in the floor, dead or dying, and went to Burger King and then went and bought flip-flops.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't even.
And we knew that they had the pool party that day before this document, but now it's just like they were just ready for their pool party, and that's
Tell me it wasn't
a
planned.
normal human.
Why the heck would they have bought flip-flops if that wasn't planned?
Well, who knows? I mean, they could have bought them because they were barefoot. I mean, we don't know why they bought them, but it certainly could have been for a pool party. So, but it's just awful. And, people are saying, well, law enforcement did a great job. They solved Charles's death. I'm like, no, because if they had listened to Charles, it wouldn't have happened. And remember the interview where Lori and Melanie Gibb, and they take Tylee and they go to the police department and they say, "Oh, Charles stole my purse out of my car. Oh, it's so terrible." Yeah, well, you stole his truck and his money and changed the locks on his house, but that's okay, I guess, right? He took your purse. Ooh. But in that interview, Charles calls them. Well, or they call Charles while they're interviewing them, and Charles says, "Yeah, I have the psych hold order on her. Can you keep her there?" And they're like, "Oh." So they go in and they tell Lori, "Listen, if you leave now before Charles gets here, we can't hold you because we haven't seen the order. You should probably leave right now before Charles gets here." They literally tell her, "Get out of the police department before he shows up with that order." How is that a good thing? What if that hadn't happened? What if they had held her right there for a psych eval? Would Charles still be alive? Maybe, maybe not. But they dropped the ball too many times for me to be singing their song now.
And and it could be two different groups of people too. The people that are working on the case now could be amazing. The people that were on that case when it happened, I think, should be investigated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And another thing that came out of the same county about the same time, y'all know who the YouTube mom is? That had all the child abuse cases and was arrested. Oh, I can't think of her name. They had something adventures, family adventure, something adventures here on YouTube, where she had all of these foster kids, and they made a crap ton of videos and made a lot of money off YouTube. She was reported to CPS like 30 times or something crazy, and nothing happened. I mean, they just didn't do anything. So one night, one of the kids got out of the house, ran away, and she couldn't find him, and so she had to call had to call the police. When they find him, they brought him back, and the mom said, "Yep, he's a runaway. He does that, whatever." They bought what she said. Like, they just took her word for it. And they didn't, it was the end of the shift, so they didn't feel like doing the paperwork, so they never reported that to CPS.
Yep. Well, let's be
And so-
thankful that Rexburg Police Department didn't do that. When they went there for the welfare check, they weren't buying anything. And, they were all over it. So thank goodness Rexburg Police Department was spot on.
Yeah.
So they didn't believe her story. They checked up on everything she said and found it to be untrue. And like, oh, this is a big problem. So I'm glad they
weren't
did that.
buying her BS in Rexburg for 1 minute.
Mhm.
They knew when they ran into Alex and Chad that they were already married.
Yep.
They knew.
And Chad's like, "I don't know her very well. I don't have her number." Like, what?
Who's that?
All right, dude. But yeah, so they were well informed and they did not buy her crap. So thank God they didn't. Thank God.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We are where we are, and we can only go from here. So let's hope that they investigate it enough that the wheels of justice will run these, in the words of, what's Charles' brother's name? Is it Jerry?
Yes, Jerry and his wife Melanie.
In the words of Jerry Vallow, run that MFer over.
Yeah.
That was the best interview. I laughed. I needed that laugh.
Nate Eaton did an interview with Jerry and his wife Melanie, Jerry Vallow, Charles's brother. It's over on East Idaho News. It's on their YouTube channel. It's fantastic. Please go ahead and give that a watch. That was a great interview. Jerry tells it like it is. It made me cry now and then, but at the same time, I was like, "You say it, Jerry. You tell him." It was amazing. What wonderful people they are. So that was good to see. It's good to see a woman named Melanie, who's an actual wonderful person connected to this case instead of the other Melanies. So that was exciting. But yeah.
That's so funny. You can tell they and Kay are related. You can tell that came out the same way.
Yep.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a great interview. So yeah. So that's all that's going on in the Daybell case. We're going to have to wait now for that hearing to be rescheduled. See what comes up in the meantime. There's always something popping off with this case.
Always something. Who knows? But I know a lot of other YouTubers are putting out the headline that she has been charged in Arizona. That's not true.
It's kind of
indictment.
It's kind of like a charge. It hasn't been brought before the court yet because they're going to wait for Idaho to wrap up first before they start pursuing that, because right now she can't appear. She can't do her initial appearance. She can't be arraigned, anything like that. She is kind of charged with it though, so they're just going to hold off on taking it to the court until everything's resolved in Idaho, which could be a couple of years, honestly. But she's not going to get away with it. She is not getting away with Charles's murder. So
Which
I'm
is
excited
good.
about that. And I would not be surprised if we see more indictments for conspiracy
No
for
way.
Charles
No,
too.
the stuff they put out.
Yep.
I would expect there to be more people dragged into this one,
Me
which
too.
could slow down the Idaho case, to be honest. If they're watching what's going on and they're like, well, if these people were wrapped up in this mess with Charles, were they wrapped up in this mess with the kids? But I've said this whole time, I don't think that's going to go to trial this year, and I'll be shocked if it goes next year.
Yeah.
I think this is a big one. I think it's going to get drugged 3, maybe 4 years. There's a lot of moving pieces in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there are.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy. It's crazy.
anyway,
All right. Is there any other questions? I said we were going to do a Q&A because I didn't have a ton of stuff to talk about, but here we are.
let's see.
Will
Questions
names
in
be
chat.
dropped?
I don't know what you mean by that. If it's a death penalty, they will have to change, at least get death penalty qualified attorneys on the case. I don't know if that means prior it means we'll walk away or if they will stay on. We'll have to wait and see on that. Let's see.
Pretty sure the judge, like, even if they wanted to walk away, the judge would have to rule, like they did with Letitia, right? The judge would have to dismiss him. But as far as we know, he can't represent her down in Arizona because he's not an Arizona lawyer.
No.
So
I think her best bet there would be to get a public defender. So we'll see what she does.
I don't think she'll have any other options. She doesn't have any money.
Yep.
So
the 2 other shots. Now, Stephanie, that's an interesting question. When Annie Cushing was doing her deep dive into Charles Vallow's death and all the reports, it did sound like there were 4 shell casings found.
Yeah.
Right. But this document only talks about 2 shots. So where are the other 2? I don't know if they just didn't mention them because maybe they didn't hit Charles or what. I don't know exactly what that discrepancy is all about, but maybe we'll find out at some point.
Alex, Joe Ryan, yeah, they were cremated. People are asking that.
Yeah.
Was Charles cremated? He wasn't, was he?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, Joe Ryan and Alex were.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how old Mark Means is?
I do not.
I don't either.
By the looks of him,
he's a man. Algo posted a picture.
By the looks of it, he's a man.
Well,
Jess, your powers of discernment are amazing.
Told y'all I had red flag sensibilities. Algo posted a picture. It's like, how old are you? Like 15? I swear, men can stay outside, lather up in baby oil, wipe their face with a handkerchief, call it a day, and they look 30 years younger. A woman can rub $300 worth of stuff in her face every day for 20 years, and it's like, you need some work done. It's not fair. I have no idea how old Mark Rees is. He's probably older than he looks, though, from my experience.
He's certainly older after this last year, I bet. He aged a couple of years, yeah.
Bringing that back, the rescue squad, the coordinator in Summer Wells' case, you could tell in between those press conferences he aged.
Yeah, he did.
You could tell. Yep. He was exhausted. So people out there fanning the rumors that law enforcement is doing some big cover up.
Oh, good God.
That's terrible. That's as bad as picking at the kids. I don't think you can fault these people looking for Summer. These people are absolutely doing everything that they can.
Yeah.
I'm trying to read this. I can't read a whole lot of it though. I don't see anything, but do you?
Nope.
I think Profiling Evil took the body cam footage of Charles Vallow, like what they took in the house or whatever, and did like a scene recreation. And I thought it was really good. Now I haven't watched that in probably 6 months. I don't know where they did it. But I remember they talked about the shots. So if you got questions about how many shots there were, those are probably decent people. Everyone talks about court documents.
Yeah, and if you want to read the actual statements from the police department there in Arizona about Charles's shooting, right? All of those documents are up in Discord. You can come on over and have a read of them. You can read Tylee's statement. You can read Lori's statement, Alex's statement, compare them with the known timeline, and there are some discrepancies. We don't know for sure if Tylee was in or out of the house when Charles was shot because we have different stories. So, but that's that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I've always entertained the idea that Tylee and JJ weren't in the house when Charles was shot. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
It is
That's sad. If they had to witness any part of that, either one of them, that's sad.
Yep.
It's rough, man. It's rough. But yeah, we talk about all the documents in the live that we did. What day was that? It was Thursday. Because then we did a talk with lot. Thursday was a day, y'all.
It was.
Thursday was a day.
Yep.
But anyway, I think we're going to kind of wrap it up. Like the person said earlier, I don't have a ton of subscribers, but we're pretty dang close to 1,000 now, which is the first big goal. And I'm going to do a giveaway when we hit 1,000 on this channel. I have a Patreon account if that's something you're interested in. There's cool stuff, behind the scenes kind of stuff going on over there. I try to post 2 or 3 times a week, just Patreon content. I'm working like crazy, guys. Awen has a Patreon. You want to talk about your Patreon?
Yep, I have a Patreon where we focus on my toxic bliss content. We talk about that story. We talk about narcissism, toxic relationships, how to identify them, and how to get out of them alive. So subscribe over there if you want in on that stuff. That's what we do. Some really good talks. I'm very proud of the narcissism stuff we do.
Yeah,
I really am.
It's not all sunshine and roses. It's pretty rough, but we keep that channel members and Patreon only so that people feel comfortable. And then if it gets uploaded public, everybody's stuff is taken out. The chat's taken out. Names are taken out. All that stuff. So you can feel safe over there. You have anything coming up on your channel this week that you know of?
Not scheduled. I'm going to be watching for some new documents I'm expecting to see in the next week or so. That hearing to be rescheduled. So if anything breaks in the case, I'll either go live with it or do a video on it right away. But there's nothing scheduled for this week. So we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah. I don't have any people that I know are going to court, so I'm not expecting any updates there. But if y'all find a case that you think nobody's talking about, lately I've been hitting a lot of the Amber Alerts. So if you guys got stuff that you want to send me, you can send it to my email. You can find me on Twitter. Come over to the Discord server. Awen and I and a whole lot of people are over there. We talk about everything and nothing all the time. So the link to all that stuff will be down in the description. I'm sure the mods have been putting it up. I've been talking to a lot of you guys in my email. Y'all been talking to me all week. I got some pen pals going over there.
Yep. And remember, tomorrow's July 4th, so have a super safe weekend. Be careful with fireworks. A lot of people are having a drought right now, but stay safe.
If you go out in public, watch your kids. Don't take your eyes off of them. Put your number in a Sharpie on your child's arm and cover it with clear nail polish or liquid bandage or whatever.
Yeah.
So that you don't, if they end up missing, somebody knows how to get a hold of you. Take a picture of them the day if you're going anywhere in public. So if something, God forbid, happens, you have a photo of what they look like exactly that day. Don't take your eyes off of them.
And good luck to all the pet owners tomorrow night.
My Ginger doesn't care. We lived on an air base and stuff like that out in the country, and I'm in Tennessee, so fireworks are legal. You can buy fireworks year round. So they've been shooting them off here for a week.
I talked to Paul. Wish him good luck with his puppers. He's got 3 of them, and that's going to be rough times for them.
They're going away. They're going on some kind of trip tomorrow. Yeah, I talked to him this morning. I did. I was like, Paul, people think you are not alive. So you need to make an appearance with a newspaper with today's date on it and send it in.
Yep.
And blink twice if Matt or the dogs are holding you hostage. But he just hit 20,000 subscribers on his channel, and I'm so excited for him.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Reporting live from my sofa right here on YouTube.
Yeah, I love Paul. I think we met through Paul, and he was my best friend. So we knew Paul back. I don't think Paul had 1,000 subscribers when.
No, he had like 800 or something. Yeah.
Been here the whole time. Love to watch it.
Mhm.
So anyway, all that fun stuff will be down in the description. Like I said, you can contact me, send me case information if you want to see it, whatever. Keep
Yep.
your eyeballs peeled out for that thing for James Hutchinson's mom and boyfriend. If y'all see that before I do, send it my way.
Yep. And one more thing.
Yep.
If any of you are interested in taking the body language tactics course from the behavioral panel, come to Discord and let me know. I'm going to approach the guys and see if we can get a group discount rate. So we can get like 10 or 15 or 20 people to take it all at once. Maybe we can get a nice rate for everyone. So I'm going to ask them if we can do that. I don't know if it'll happen, but let me know and maybe we can coordinate that. That would be wonderful. That would be really cool.
Absolutely. That sounds super, super fun.
Yeah.
Super fun. All right, guys, I'm taking up enough of your Saturday at this point. We've been on here for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm sick of myself at this point. So that's all I got, guys. Until next time, bye.
Bye.